1959,
Okay.
June the 15th, I think it was, around June the 15th.
What makes you remember that date?
Well, it's just something, I guess, to remember. I don't know. But I remember it was in June anyway. Well, we'd go through here going to her folks. They live on down you don't know where Virgil, Kansas is, I don't imagine. But
I
that's
don't,
where
but
they
that-
live.
Okay.
And we'd go through here going to her folks, and we kind of liked the town, so we just moved out here.
The whole time
That'll
then?
be 54 years, be 55 years in June. Well, the businesses has really changed in Wellsville. When we moved out here, what was it, 3 grocery stores, I think, here in town. And now we don't have a grocery store in town. We've got one out on the highway here, but it's more of a, like Casey's or something like
Okay.
that, you know. And then we've got a Casey's uptown, but we had, well, I think it was 3 grocery stores, and then we had filling stations. There was 1, 2, 3. There was 4 filling stations in town.
Lumberyard.
And there's the filling stations they're all gone now. The school, they've added on to the school where the high school's at now. They added on to that twice since we've been here, I think it is. And then they built a new school for the grade school. But they had before they built the new grade school, they had the high school and the middle school and the grade school all together. It was all in one building. They'd built onto it, and it was a pretty good sized building. I think around 25 or 30 kids graduated.
It might be a music teacher, Mr. Hicks.
Mr.
Yeah.
Hicks, huh?
Yeah, our kids was in the band, and they really liked him. Yeah.
He was the band leader.
The
music
band leader,
teacher.
okay.
I mean,
Music
a good
teacher in
music
band.
teacher, and he was the choir, the leader in the choir at the Methodist Church. I mean,
Okay.
and the kids they really liked him. Yeah.
So was it also like marching band or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he'd have a marching band.
Yeah.
Great. And then they got to participate in different, like, did they march?
Oh yeah, they went to Baldwin. They'd go, they'd go.
And when they'd have some kind of a dance, well, they would go and march in it, like at Maple Leaf over at Baldwin.
Sure.
They usually always went to that and marched in that. And then other schools that had stuff, well, they would march in that. And one of the grocery stores was Junior Christ, and he done an awful lot for the community. And he was, well, they'd deliver groceries and stuff around to people, that couldn't get out and go to the grocery store, and they don't even think about that today or anything, but back then he would take their order and deliver their food to them and everything, their groceries to them and everything. We had a lumber yard, and I forget what the
Rudell.
Rudell was his name, and they was awful good. They, if you needed some kind of wood or anything, why, they could get it for you and everything. But it burned down.
And when it burned down, did they start again, or did they?
Well, he had got rid of it, and the labs run it then when it burned down, and it was uptown, and they moved it down this way a little ways, and well, they thought the whole town was probably going to burn when it caught on fire because it made a big fire. It was a big fire. And then where our bank, it was they was some older people run it, and they was really nice. They was good
Good people too.
We had a hardware here in store in town, and it was run by Lucky Hostard, and he was a good leader, and I think his dad started the hardware before he run it, and they had quite a few businesses here in town that they don't have now.
Not now.
So I guess there's a few more people moved in town, but the business is all has left. I forget now what it was, but he was up in his 90s when he passed away. We had a volunteer fire department, that's all we've got here. And when we moved out here, there was constable, was what they call him, was all they had. They didn't have no police or anything.
And when it was a constable, was it just that one
Just
man?
one guy,
One?
yeah.
I can't think
Yeah.
of his name right now.
And he was the one that kind of just took care of things? If there was a problem, you got
Oh,
in touch
yeah,
with him?
he would, but the kids had fun with him too. I know when my boy was going to school and everything, why, like on the 4th of July, why, some of them would get on one end of town, shoot off fireworks, and others would get on the other end, and they'd had him running back and forth and stuff.
But it was a
But
quiet town, right?
But now they have to have police. And I don't know, I think there's a police chief, well, no, he just left, and we've got another one, that he's the acting police chief now. And I think there's 2 or 3 police that's on with him. There was a blacksmith shop, was still here when we moved here, and they tore it down and built a hamburger place in the place of it where it was at. One of the filling stations, it went from a filling station to a Pizza Hut where they sold pizzas and stuff at.
They had a 100-year centennial right after we moved here.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Kansas, that was a big thing in Wellsville.
they had parades and
And like a museum, everybody brought things in, you know, that was
kind of like
pertaining
a
to the
craft show.
100-year,
Okay.
you know, things that happened in the, you know, when it.
And the women, they wore long dresses and dressed up like the old timers did and everything.
Men grew beards.
And the men, they grew a beard.
And then they had a contest, you know, had the best beard and the best, you know.
For our 2 daughters, she made dresses and stuff for them and bonnets and stuff.
And did you grow a beard?
Oh yeah, I tried to, but I couldn't. I didn't
Yes,
have
you
one.
did.
It wasn't.
Yeah,
It didn't get no place.
yeah, but you had a beard. Oh, the whole town was decorated, and then they'd have, not so, I don't remember so much back then, but now, but I don't know if they still, the garden club, I think they went around and, you know, who had the best, they put a sign in their yard, you know, whoever had the best decorations.
And then on Christmas, they usually had a big drawing
Yeah, that's what
for
I was
the people. Well, it was before Christmas, but this was for the holidays. And they would have it at the school. And Junior Chris, the one that run a drugstore, I think he was kind of the one that got it started.
And they still do that.
And they still do that, but now it's more for the children, you know, the kids.
They would give prizes, you know, when
And
they'd,
Back
give
then, they'd
tickets, you
give
know.
turkeys and hams and fruit boxes, and then they'd give
the bank
smaller
would give
things.
money, you know, and stuff like that.
And stuff
different-
like that.
Different business. Well, and they have the Legion has a Easter parade every, they still do for the kids.
Yeah.
You know, the Easter
then-
egg hunt.
And then on Veterans Day, the American Legion puts on a program at the schoolhouse on Veterans Day.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's all open to the public and everything. The Wellsville Days, it just,
Well, they set up booths, I mean, you know, craft sales and stuff, and they usually have a big parade. You know, big parade.
yeah, they have a parade and give prizes, and then they have a dance of the night. And they have 2 or 3 different bands that plays. and they put on different programs and stuff.
Does it
We
bring,
don't go
It,
very
it
much.
lasts for 2 days. It's
Wow.
Saturday and Sunday. Sunday there's usually not too much.
Of course, our kids all participated in the bands, you know, and stuff like in the sports.
mm-hmm,
And it's a big sports town, football town.
football, huh?
Yeah, football and
Yeah.
line basketball too. Football was our, and still is, yeah.
For the high school students, is
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, for the football and basketball is mostly high school. The smaller kids, they play and everything, but the main thing is the football and the basketball.
Mm-hmm.
I was in the Army, but that was before we moved out here or anything. I went in I think it was January of '43, and I went in at Kansas City, and that was in February. Well, I went to Miami Beach, Florida, and taking my basic training, and then we went on the desert out in California and taking some more training, and then I went overseas. And I was overseas, let's see, when we landed in Scotland and went through England and France and Germany, Belgium and Germany. In Germany, when we went from the north, we come into Germany up by Belgium and went into Germany and went clear to the south part of Germany. Went from Bonn, Germany to Stuttgart, Germany. Through Germany, yeah. That's about the size of it. Then came home.
What was it like coming home then? It sounds like the.
It was rough. Well, when we went over on the Queen Mary, but it come back, and it was just a small ship, and it was when we loaded on the ship to come back, they wouldn't even let us move out of the harbor because it was storming so bad, and wind and stuff. It was so bad that they wouldn't let us move out. But during the night, or whenever they did let us move out, why I had been asleep, and when I woke up, why there wasn't nobody in the room, and I wondered what was wrong. And I got up, and we was really rocking, but we was moving out on the water, and the people really got sick. I was lucky, I guess. I got used to it while I was asleep,
Maybe so.
and I really didn't get sick. But some of them, they was really bad.
Back
To
home.
come home, seemed to me like it was 14 days. It was 7 days to go over there.
Rough seas coming home then.
And but it was on a lot larger ship and
Okay.
everything. Going over, but coming back, it was just a tub.
Or
We landed in Virginia, and we had to stay there. They wouldn't even let us come home for Christmas. We had to stay there till after Christmas because it was just, I forget now what day it was. We landed there, but they wouldn't let us come back until after Christmas, and then we came back and I come back to Kansas City, and that's where I met her at, was in Kansas City.
And then our son went to service, and
oh,
he went to Vietnam, and he came home, and that was the best, you know. Really glad that he got to come home. But,
Yeah, our son was a helicopter. He was in the helicopter unit over
The
there in
Schnucks,
Vietnam.
was it Schnucks? No, he was a,
Yeah, the Chinook,
Yeah,
the one with the
something.
double blades.
yeah. Yeah,
They'd go out and pick up the troops or people that was injured or anything like that and bring them back.
I forget what is, he was a crew chief on one of those or something. And
Yeah.
they would, you know, they would be, if they was shot down or something, and then they would have to go out and find them and bring them in, you know, and get them out of the enemy territory, I guess you would say. The women would send packages, you know, we had all that going on, you know, to send to the boys, you know, over there, packages and things like that. We was all involved in that.
Did you get together at church to do that?
Yeah, or at the auxiliary meetings, the American Legion Auxiliary, and then we'd send them off, you know. And so I worked at Boeing on, I mean, that was the main one. That was the biggest, you know, Wichita, that's where they had the big, and worked on, you know, riveted, you know, on the airplanes. And his sisters, that's where they worked too. It was different, I mean, but I mean, you know, and then I worked in sheet and metal, and that was worse, you know, you had to cut big, you know, like 2 yards of material, you had to sheet, you know, of metal, and you had to put it in a machine, you know, and cut different things, but not, I don't think I worked really hard, but then most of my hard work was at home helping my parents.
There wasn't too many of them around here that in Wellsville that got killed or anything.
Jimmy, I mean,
In the Vietnam War.
the deaths, I don't think there was very many.
Yeah.
What a blessing
But
then.
Yeah.
the first one that got killed in this last war and stuff was a kid from here in Wellsville.
Yeah. In
Kansas, yeah.
But back then, all that we kind of knew really good, I think they all kind of got back. This last boy that got killed in what would you say, the Iraq War?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they had a big memorial or something for him, or, you know, a big doings, but I mean.
Yeah, when they brought him back.
And our neighbor up here, Mr. Murphy, he's been gone quite a while, but I can remember, Bernice Childs was Bernice, Childs, and she worked up at the store up there, and I was up there, and it was after the kids there was right at graduation when they was gonna, and she said, "Now, I want you to meet Karen, she's gonna be my daughter-in-law," and I think that's about the first thing. And then the man up here, he was up there in the store, and he had a little, little terrier dogs?
Rat terrier.
He had a jean jacket on, and he had one of them little dogs in his pocket. And
Oh my goodness.
And that's how I met him, then he lived right up here.
Okay.
And they were our,
They was real nice
they was
people.
our second mom and daddy. I mean, you know, we was really, and then he passed away, and then we take care of her for, you know, quite a while. We'd go up and, you know, see about her and everything.
That's what neighbors are about.
Murphy,
Ruth and Lawrence Murphy.
Ruth and
Yeah, they
Lawrence.
was. And then you worked, you know, when you'd come home, you worked nights, and then you'd come home and you'd go up there and help him on the farm. You'd help him fill silo and everything.
That's the beauty about neighbors, you know. I mean, I don't know if it's in smaller towns. It's not always that way. Sometimes we don't know our neighbors as much anymore.
Yeah.
You know.
And he treated you like a son, J.W., really.
Yeah, he was good to me, and
Yeah.
I helped him out every time I had a chance. After he got older and he had a bad heart too, I'd go up and feed his animals for him and take care of them and help him out that way. And he'd pay me back. He'd try to pay me with a check, and I'd tear them checks up. He asked me one time, he said, "Are you cashing them checks that I gave you?" I said, "No." Well, he said, "You better cash them, that's what they're for." And I said, "Well, I've done tore them up." So after that, he'd buy something and bring it down here
Oh,
too.
he'd buy him.
And I'd help him fill the silo, and then I'd help him empty it during the winter, feeding the cattle out of it and everything.
Oh, the Depression. He remembered. I don't,
Well, it was,
I think he had it rougher. We
it
lived
was
on-
awful hard getting by back then because there wasn't no money or nothing. I'd work for 50 cents a day, and it wasn't 8 hours, it was for 10, 12, 14 hours a day. And, of course, I did have it harder than she did
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I didn't have no dad, and my mother had an awful hard job trying to provide for the family and everything. And she'd get out and work in the fields before I got up big enough to. And then after I got up big enough, well, I really wasn't big enough, but I had to go out and work anyway. And back then, that's what we had to do to get by. And we'd milk cows and sell the milk and stuff like that, buy what few things we had to buy. And of course, back then, well, we didn't butcher any beef or anything like that, but we butchered a lot of hogs, and hogs was cheap back then. You could buy one for, well, a small one and everything for probably 50 cents or something like that.
But that was a day's work for 14
Yes,
to
yes.
14 hours, right? That's quite a bit.
Yeah, he had it rougher. We lived on the farm and had chicken, you know, and stuff like that. But not saying that we was rich. I mean, we got by.
And I work myself and the team of horses, and I'd get $2 a day that day for me and the horses. And well, I even had to feed them and everything myself. They didn't even furnish the feed for them, you know, or nothing.
So what was the work like then? You were working in the fields just...
Well, when I worked with the horses out, I would dig ponds and stuff like that with a Fresno. And a Fresno is a big scoop with this one handle that comes out.
Okay.
And you hold that handle and you scoop the dirt up and haul it out, and the horses would pull it around for that.
And how old were you then? You said too
Oh,
young
I'd
to be
probably
working,
13, 14
Okay.
years old, maybe. I don't know just how old.
and were your your mom was taking care of you and how many siblings did you have?
She had 3 children at that time, and she was taking care of all 3 of us. I had twin sisters. They was older than I was, and they was 3 years older than I was. But and when this is hard to believe, but when they was born, one of them weighed 3 pounds and the other one weighed 2 pounds.
Oh my goodness.
They weighed 5 pounds, but the scales they weighed back on then was probably wasn't as accurate as what the scales are today. And there was a heavy-set woman that laid the one that was 2 pounds. She laid her between her breasts and kept her warm and everything, and that's the way they kept her alive.
Wow, that's
And
nice.
she's still alive today.
Well,
She's-
there you go.
yeah, I'd say when I was 10 years old, I was probably doing work that I shouldn't have to be doing or anything, but I was out milking cows and taking care of stuff like that.
That's what you had to do.
Yeah. Well, we had a lot of hot weather and dust storms and
Sure.
and stuff like that, but they had the dust storms here in Kansas, but I was in Arkansas, and we didn't get the dust as bad as they did here in Kansas. But the hot weather, it was awful hot back then and everything. Of course, you didn't have no air conditioning, and we didn't even have fans. We didn't have no electricity to run the fans or anything with. So you just kind of stayed out under a shade tree, and we'd sleep outside of a night or something, you know, under a tree or something like that, because it was too hot in the house. And there wasn't no air conditioner, no fan or anything.
Well,
it was rough. The food that you ate was mostly what you growed and everything, you know.
So you had a
And we
small garden, or?
We always had a big garden, and we'd bury our potatoes and stuff in the ground to get through the winter with them, you know, and stuff like that. And then we butchered a lot of hogs, and that was their meat and stuff. My mother canned a lot of stuff, different stuff and everything.
Well, when they show pictures on TV in western Kansas, I don't remember dust like they say that they had in the western Kansas where I lived. I mean, it was hot and stuff like that, but I just don't remember it being as bad as they show pictures on TV when I was growing up where we lived in Marion County. I mean, we had hot weather and stuff like that, but I don't remember the dust storms where they had, they show them covering their faces with, cloths and keeping the stuff,
Window
the
stuff,
windows,
yeah.
and everything. I don't remember that around where we lived, being that bad.
Do you remember just?
I remember flies because we had to, shoot them, to get them, but I don't remember all that dust like that. I worked a lot harder at home when I was growing up than I did. I always said after I got married. Yeah. I was a babysitter.
Yeah, her aunt told me that she didn't know how she stood up straight, said she'd be going around with a baby on her hip and doing dishes or cooking with her other hand.
And the last baby my mama had, I helped take. I was there when the doctor. He sent me to the kitchen to boil some water.
It took the doctor 3 hours to get out to where I was born, Dad, before he made it out there. It was in December and there was snow and everything. It took him 3 hours to get out there.
You were already born then, right?
I was born 3 hours before he got there.
My goodness.
Well, the best part that I think about my dad, he had to take us to school. My oldest brother and then my sister next to me, he put us in a wagon and put some straw in it and cover us up, and then he'd sit up on the seat in a snowstorm and take us to school. About a mile, I think, into town to school. That was kind of fun.
No snow days, huh?
Yeah.
No. We lived 1.25 miles from school, and we didn't ride the bus. At first they didn't have no buses or anything. Then when they did get buses, why, they would come by about 6 o'clock in the morning or something, and we'd be the first ones that had to get on. Well, we had so much chores and stuff we had to do before we went to school. I'd get up at 4 o'clock in the morning anyway, and to get the chores done, to get to school by 8 o'clock. And so we didn't get to ride the bus, we had to walk 1.25 miles. And I had one sister, she was kind of puny, and I'd carry her to school that 1.25 miles. I don't know, we've seen so much change in our lifetime, it's pitiful. They went from horse and buggy to flying to the moon, so I don't know what it.
No wars.
Yeah.
I want people.
Everybody get along. People, they don't have no respect for people anymore. People don't respect their neighbors, or neighbors don't do like they used to. They used to help each other and everything, and didn't expect big pay for it or something, you do it.
In fact, they tore up checks, right?
Well, that was just that was just one of them things. But they would, if they would help their neighbor and respect them, and used to, the people would wave or holler at you, and everything, and now they don't even know you or nothing, One of the fun things when we first moved here, I guess you'd say, was the people across the road moved in, and they come from Florida, and they hadn't been in snow or anything.
Oh, goodness.
And it was in January.
In Kansas, oh goodness.
Yeah, it was in January, and they they moved in over there, and the kids was getting up on the fence and jumping off. The snow was pretty deep. They were jumping off in that snow just like you would dive into water.
Oh, goodness.
And they really enjoyed the snow, but I guess it's about the first snow they've seen.
And their kids, they had 5 children, and they was about our age.
I
and
mean,
their
our
you know,
kids' age.
And, you know, the kids' age, and they got along real good, you know, and everything.